Mr. Speaker, April the 16th, May the 2nd, May 29th, I asked the Premier and the Minister of Water Stewardship direct and specific questions about reducing phosphorus going into Lake Winnipeg and received only vague responses. In the meantime, phosphorus is entering Lake Winnipeg at a rate of nearly 8,000 tons per year, with only about 2,000 tons per year leaving the lake. I asked the Minister of Conservation and Water Stewardship what is his immediate plan of action to reduce the amount of phosphorus going into Lake Winnipeg by 50%.
Mr. Speaker, we did pass the Safe Lake Winnipeg Act. The Safe Lake Winnipeg Act deals with a variety of different point sources and non-point sources of phosphorus intake to Lake Winnipeg. First of all, water, sewage, and treatment have to be upgraded around the province, and many investments have been made in that, with more to come, Mr. Speaker. Non-point sources have been dealt with. The Save Lake Winnipeg, or the Lake Friendly Products Program. We were the first jurisdiction in Canada to ban phosphorus from detergents, Mr. Speaker. That has been a very important initiative that's been now picked up across the country. We are also working on further Building Canada money to ensure that there are sewage treatment facilities in place that reduce phosphorus output. We are working with the hog sector, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that winter spreading, for example, is done in a safe manner. And all of these things are happening in Manitoba. So first and foremost, we have put serious demands on ourselves to reduce our own phosphorus output. Outside of Manitoba, we are working with other jurisdictions as well, whether they be to the east of us or to the west of us or to the south of us. We're working with all of them to find ways to reduce their load of nutrients into the water basin that goes into Lake Winnipeg. And all of these measures are intended to keep one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world safe.
Please, First Minister, time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, articles and op-ed pieces in the Free Press have panned the government strategy as dilly-dallying. Mr. Speaker, the NDP approach to act without having well-thought-out plans hasn't been working. Indeed, neither the announcement last week nor the Save Lake Winnipeg Act provided specific plans and dates to achieve the necessary targets in phosphorus reduction. A clear strategy and measurable outcomes are long overdue. I asked the Premier, whose government has failed to deliver an effective water management strategy for the province in almost 14 years, by what date will the 50% reduction in phosphorus going into Lake Winnipeg be achieved?
Mr. Speaker, the member will know that over the years, for example, we've put in place very significant investments in sewage treatment. We've put in place a riparian tax credit to reduce the impact of livestock on lakes, to keep them the edges of the lakes protected and the trees protected along the lakes, Mr. Speaker. We have also worked with jurisdictions outside of Manitoba to reduce nutrients coming into the province of Manitoba. And all of those investments and all of those relationships that we have built are intended specifically to reduce the phosphorus that's flowing into Lake Winnipeg, which is one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. The member knows that. We've also initiated research. And this research on Lake Winnipeg has borne fruit, and we are supporting the initiative to stop the closing of the experimental lakes area by the federal government, because that decision will shut down some of world-class research which has not only stopped acid rain in the lakes in Canada and around the world, but phosphorus loading in lakes as well. All of these initiatives are intended to reduce phosphorus loading.
Order, please. The First Minister's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, as the Premier knows, in 12 years, the progress in reducing phosphorus going into Lake Winnipeg has actually been small. Berkeley Kivas astutely pointed out in the Free Press this weekend, and I quote, "The real solutions to the Lake Winnipeg conundrum involve a radical transformation of the watershed so that there can be a great deal more water retention and wetlands. Researchers and conservation groups have proposed effective low-tech solutions. The government needs to act now." I asked the Premier, how much money will the NDP government commit to action this year in this area in partnership with the Lake Winnipeg Foundation and other organizations?
First of all, organizations like the Lake Winnipeg Foundation do make a very significant contribution, both in terms of research and public policy recommendations, and we value the work they do, Mr. Speaker. Some of the ideas that were proposed in the article cited by the member for River Heights and the leader of the Liberal Party are to ensure that we retain more water on the land. This is an important part of an overall strategy. A surface water management strategy is an important part of what needs to be done. Ducks Unlimited have been advocates for this for many years, protecting marshlands, protecting sloughs, protecting water on the surface so that that water can be used, keep nutrients out of Lake Winnipeg and other lakes as well. This is something that needs to be done. The riparian tax credit was one of the first initiatives in Canada to provide that kind of incentive. Alternative land use incentives are also an important part of that, and regulation is an important part of that. But it's also the case we have to reduce phosphorus from very specific sources, such as wastewater coming into the lakes, such as sewage treatment in major cities like Winnipeg and Brandon. And by the way, Brandon has biological nutrient removal that has been put in place for several...
First Minister's time has expired.